Welcome to the Realtor for Hoopers podcast.
When I pull up with my dogs, we gon' ball like Swish. No, I ball like. No, I ball like.
All right, well, welcome to episode 23 of the interview series. Today, we have a graduate of Fairview High School.
Yes, sir.
The all-time leading rebounder, games played, and free throws attempted at Metro State. Thought that was interesting. I'll let you tell the rest of the basketball.
All right, perfect.
But also a really good friend of mine, someone who's meant a lot to me on and off the court. Big supporter of everything that I'm doing. Jonathan Morse, good known as J-Mo. I don't know if anybody ever calls you Jonathan.
Very rarely, actually, people don't know my name's Jonathan. It's kind of funny.
Well, it's J-Mo. So, so J-Mo, first, thing we start off with every time is tell us your basketball story.
So my basketball story started really young. I have two older brothers. That's how we met. Is my older brother. They are 9 and 11 years older than me. So when they were in high school, I was that annoying little kid running around the court. What I actually used to do is run up and down the court with them as the game was going on, pretend like I was playing. Just kind of knew that's what I wanted to do, is play basketball and follow my brother's footsteps. So they both played at Fairview High School. So went up through the Gold Crown travel program at Fairview and ended up playing basketball at Fairview. I started 2 years there, a 2-year letter winner, and then we had a really good year my senior year, lost in the Final Four after an undefeated regular season. In overtime to George Washington. And then recruiting was funny because I wasn't getting really any calls throughout the year. I'm like, we're the best team in the state, one of the best players. I'm like, why am I not getting recruited? Like I should be playing college basketball, right? Come to find out, a lot of the RMAC schools in Colorado ended up wanting me. And they already thought I had signed at Metro because guess what? Both my brothers played there as well. So guess where I ended up going. So after the season, I went to a elite camp, all the top talent in the state, and that was also funny because I'm playing and I played really well. And downstairs, I'm talking with the assistant coach, and he's like, "Oh, we'd love to have you as a walk-on spot." And upstairs, the head coach was talking to my dad. He's like, "What do we need to do to get J-Mo here?" And my dad was like, "Full scholarship." He's like, "Done." So that's how I ended up at Metro.
Cool.
Started all 4 seasons at Metro. I got really lucky. They had a big from the year before that had left or had exited the team. And so it was me and another guy they had brought in. So my older brother, Michael, had coached me at Fairview and have really driven defensive concepts that he learned at Metro that they were still using at Metro into me in high school. So I kind of walked into almost a similar program.
Sweet.
So I started from day one. There was only one game in my career I didn't start at Metro.
Wow. That's cool.
So all 4 years, each year we got a little bit better, went to the playoffs, lost in the second round, lost in the Elite Eight, and then my senior year we lost in the national championship game. Then after that, I did a quick tour in China for about a month, played in like Team USA in this all nations tournament. And we traveled around China and played in front of thousands of people. It was a blast.
That's awesome.
Then I got surgery on my leg, which we'll touch on here shortly. And then I played a season in Portugal and I played a season in Australia. And my season in Australia ended pretty awesome in my perspective. The NBL was starting as my season was ending, and I got to participate in preseason, actually with some former Metro guys and former teammates, and Nick Kay and Jesse Wagstaff and Sunday Detch, who all played at Metro. Got to play with them for another 2 months
Cool.
for the Perth Wildcats. And then I got an awesome call that they happened to be playing the Utah Jazz and the Denver Nuggets that year in the preseason. And I was going to be home for the Denver Nuggets game. And they let me suit up and get into the game against the Denver Nuggets.
At Ball Arena.
At Ball Arena.
That's sweet.
Pepsi Center at the time, I think.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah.
That's a good point. Yeah. Sweet. Well, good, man.
But yeah, it was super cool.
What years were you at Metro, and then what years was the overseas career?
I was at Metro from 2009 to 2013.
Okay.
And then after I got surgery, I coached there. I was a student coach for 2 years in 14 and 15.
Cool.
And then I was overseas. I was in Portugal in 2016, and then I was in Australia in 2018.
Got it. So I would say, I think we first started playing together in 2013, right? Right after Metro and all that. That's what I remember.
Yep.
So I was just trying to.
Yeah, because we would always play against each other in the summertime.
Yep.
And then once I was no longer a part of Metro, you were like, "Hey, Michael, we need him. Go get your brother."
We always would play against Metro in the pro-am, and then once he graduated, it's like, oh, he doesn't have to play with Metro anymore.
Exactly.
Come on. All right. So you kind of alluded to it a little bit. You have a very, what I'll call interesting and treacherous injury history.
Yep.
Very unique. So do you, if you can walk us kind of through that, and maybe like what the biggest lesson you've learned through all of those trials and that?
Sure. We'll tell the story here. I was about 4 or 5, 6 years old when it happened. It was a little fuzzy. I was jumping on a trampoline in the backyard of my friend's house. Me and him were jumping, and I jumped up and fell and broke my femur bone right above my knee. When we went to the doctor to get it set, he said, "Oh, it's straight on the x-ray. It's fine." And then if you actually look at my cast, it's crooked like that.
Oh.
So my leg healed crooked. And the doctor was like, "No, it'll be fine. It'll straighten out over time." And it never did. It just actually progressively got worse. The angle my knee was at put stress on my shin bones. And actually, with all me being active and running and jumping and playing basketball as much as I did, it made my shin bones slowly turn outwards, right?
Mm-hmm.
So by the time I was a sophomore...
They're going like this, right?
It was just the one. It was just the right side. The right side, if you're here, the angle, that was my knee, and then my shins just kind of kept bowing outward like that. So by the time I was a sophomore in high school, I would put my knees together, and my feet would be about shoulder width apart because of the angle of my one leg.
Whoa.
So they couldn't do anything with my femur bone at the time because we have growth plates. They were still open. So growth plates are how teenagers grow and get the long bones longer. They didn't want to touch those because you can potentially stunt the growth of those. So what they said is what we could do is we could cut the shin bones in half and then straighten those out. So that's what I did my sophomore year of high school. I did that a week before school started my sophomore year, and I actually ended up playing that year. That was 4 months later, 5 months later, something like that. It wasn't pretty. I probably should not have been playing, but I was hobbling up and down. Actually ended up starting on the sophomore team, then moving up to the JV team that year. And then over the summertime, I just got stronger, got faster and better, and started playing with the varsity team. And I think I all but came off the bench 1 or 2 games, and then I started after that. But I did all that with my knee still crooked. So it was a little bit better, but it wasn't quite.
Are you playing in pain during this? Is it pain, or you just don't know any different? So it's...
For the most part, I didn't know any different. It was after the game that it would get really sore and angry. And so what my dad actually did, my dad was pretty handy. He built me a wooden leg brace.
Wow.
So he took 2 pieces of wood, for time purposes, put one shorter piece here and a longer piece from my ankle to the hip, and I took straps and I strapped them together, and it would decompress all the stuff on the outside of my leg.
That's how you recover?
That's how I would recover and kind of give my leg a break.
Wow.
And if I did not do that, I really felt it. So much so I actually had it all the way through college. I had to travel with it. Any my teammates watched this.
Yeah.
They called it my tent because I put it in like a tent bag. And I checked it every time. So we would grab all the bags. Like, hey, make sure we get JMO's tent.
Yeah. He's not going camping.
Not going camping. Oh, it was very funny.
Okay.
Yeah, so I played with that all through college. I never asked because I didn't want it to not work and have my college career end short. So I was like, play through college.
Yeah. Don't say a word.
Don't say a word. I never wanted it to be an excuse for me.
Yeah.
Like, I just don't notice my leg. Just care about the basketball player I am.
Mm-hmm.
Don't say, what could be if your leg wasn't messed up. And so that's always how I approached it. When I did my first surgery, I remember sitting in the doctor's office and the doctor saying, "Oh, he's never going to play more than like recreation basketball." And my dad sat back and he kind of gave me the side eye, and I was like, "That's a funny joke."
Yeah.
Like just
that was the "let me show you" moment.
Yeah. So it was funny because I finished my career at Metro, and my idea from being a little tyke was I'm going to play in the NBA. Like that's always what I thought. I would look at my leg like, I don't care. I'm going to figure it out anyway. Like I'll be so good you can't keep me off a team. So when I went to go in for the consultation for my second surgery, doctor said the same thing. Like, he's never going to play more than backyard basketball after this. And I was like, that's not the reason. Just make sure my leg is fixed.
Yeah.
I'll figure it out later.
I didn't ask your opinion.
I didn't ask your opinion. Just let me.
Yeah.
Let me go. And it was funny because I actually ended up working in that same office later, but that doctor had retired because I was going to give him a signed jersey or something like that, just as a little token of your encouragement there.
Yeah.
But yeah, it took me. So the second surgery was also eventful. So that one, they cut my femur, opened that up, and straightened it out. And it really threw me for a loop when I saw two straight legs for the first time.
Wow.
Like, it was real weird. Didn't know how to react with that. Probably some miscommunication on his part and my anxiousness, but I probably started walking before I was supposed to. And putting pressure on it before I was supposed to. Because I also did the surgery at the Children's Hospital because they do this surgery all the time versus if you go to a normal orthopedic surgeon, they might have done it a handful of times.
Got it.
So I was 21 at the time, maybe 20. I was close to 22, so I still could go to Children's Hospital and get treated. Fun stories with that too. We won't touch on that.
Yeah.
But I think he went with the child's protocol on like bringing me back.
Oh, okay.
And so I probably needed to be tamed a little bit more because I was just anxious to get out there and try out the new wheels, right?
Yeah.
So 5 months in, I go in for an x-ray and he's like, "Hey, what are you doing Friday? Because we need to do emergency surgery. You broke a screw." So, yep. So 5 months in, we start from scratch. They rip out all the hardware. They actually redid everything. They had to scuff up the bone. And then they gave me the protocol I probably should have been on. It was like, all right, 6 weeks, you don't bend it, you don't use it, pretend it's in a cast.
Yeah.
Okay. 6 weeks of, okay, you can bend it, still no more touching, whatever.
Yeah.
So from start to finish, I was on crutches for about a year.
Dang.
Then I finally got off the crutches. During this time, I had asked my coach at Metro, Derek Clark, if I could help out and just be around the game.
Yeah.
Like, please keep me in the gym.
Yep.
So I was coaching at the time, and then I coached the year afterwards too, because I'm like, I'm still coming back. I'm still going to play professional basketball. Like, it's no questions asked. So I would go watch practice. I would watch film. I was thinking the game differently from like a coach's perspective. And then I would go to the gym and I would do rehab exercises. And then after a couple months, I started jogging.
Yeah.
And a few more weeks later, I'm like, I'm going to start running and cutting. And then I think by Christmas time, I looked at coach. I was like, if you need an extra practice player, I can hop in. Next morning, there was a jersey for me, and I started hopping in practice. And remember the first time I touched the ball, I fell to the ground because I tried dribbling like the same speed I used to.
Yeah.
And everyone stopped and like, oh, crap, JMO broke again.
Yep.
And I got up, and then I think I scored the next time down, and it was fine. And I can't appreciate and thank him enough for helping me get back into a spot where I could play.
For sure.
Because then I actually played with him all summer, and I was also playing. I was playing. I was doing 2 days. I was playing with on your team. I was playing with Metro if they didn't have enough guys. And the following year is when I went to Portugal, and that was my first gig.
Wow. So what's the biggest lesson you learned through it?
Don't let other people limit you.
Yeah.
You know, especially like those doctors or people like, oh man, like you're lucky you can walk. And, that's not what I'm here for. Like I want to go play. Like that was my ultimate goal and things I wanted to do. And I really now I'm feeling the repercussions of it, but but glad I did it. Wouldn't change anything.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. You also, when you were telling your basketball story, alluded to that you have 2 older brothers. So you're one of 3 brothers, and each one of you are just massive human beings.
Yep.
And I know they're 9 and 11 years older than you, but there's got to be a story when roughhousing went a little too far in the Morse household.
Yes and no, because they were very, I think we all know how big we are.
Okay.
And so with me being just a little pain in the ass to them, to say it lightly, they were gentle with me and they never really hurt me. They have different stories.
Oh,
you know,
between the
two of them, they like I'm pretty sure one of their asses went through the wall and they tried covering up with couch cushions.
Is that a long term?
My dad walked in like, those aren't normally there. Pulled the thing back and called them out.
That's how we're gonna get away with this. We'll just put a couch.
Hey, at least delay it, maybe. You know, but
whatever. The things guys think about. That's great. That's anyway.
When I did fully grow, I mean, we did roughhouse a little bit and wrestled.
Yeah, like when you're like 13.
Yeah, high school, 14, 15, 16, because we all still lived in the same house at the time, and we would play tag in the house. And again, we're not small people in small hallways.
Lots of bulls in that china shop.
I threw my foot through the wall at one point that I had to fix later. Broke a few things, like broke some lamps, definitely some light bulbs. One thing that when you just asked, we used to play a game called Fumble, and I would just throw the ball at my brother, like fumble, and I would try and rip the ball from him.
Yeah.
And he would just hold it with one arm as I'm a little kid using all my might. It would take about 20 minutes before he'd be like, all right. And then like I could pry it free.
Yeah.
And he'd take it right back in 30 seconds. And I feel like that helped with my hand strength, if anything else.
For sure. Oh, cool.
that was always fun.
That's awesome. Well, it's I didn't have any brothers growing up, so there's a little bit of it. I'm like, I'm always curious. I have 2 sons now, and watching them interact, I'm like, I wonder what it would be like if I had a brother growing up, because I can just only imagine what I would get myself into and all that.
No, for sure.
All right, so next question. So you've post career, you've kind of found your way. Trying to start your own business, and you've started Moebility Wellness.
Yep. And
it's been what, 3 years now?
Yeah. So I've been doing the stretching for 3 years, and I've been on my own for 2.
Okay. So tell us the story about Moebility Wellness. Sure. What's the goal with that? Kind of go from there.
So when I stopped playing basketball, I won't say retired because nobody ever wants to retire.
Yeah.
There's still like a glimmer of hope.
Yep.
In all the back of our minds. But I started working in a hospital with the idea of going to either PA school or med school.
Okay.
Always just wanted to help people. Always just wanted to like make people healthy.
Yep.
And help them do whatever their goals were. I was actually pretty convinced I wanted to go to PA school. I applied, I got interviewed, waitlisted, got into one institution, and luckily I changed my mind before I put money forth and lost a bunch of money for that. Really started not liking the culture of the hospital. Came less about taking care of people and more about checking boxes and making money and stuff. Yeah, and turnover. It wasn't what I wanted. So I had a buddy, Nick Gill, who you know as well. I was seeing him as a client, and he was doing the stretch therapy, and he had been doing it for like over a decade. So I started working in his facility, and looked at me. He's like, "You know a lot about the body. You should become a therapist." I was like, "All right." So I went and got stretch trained. I had zero intentions of stretching people for the rest of my life or starting a business for it. But then his facility closed down, which left all my existing clients nowhere to go. So I just kind of opened up shop and have been doing it since. So that's how I'm here.
I love the branding too, because everyone knows you as JMO.
Yes.
So Mobility Wellness with an E, and now that'll be all tagged and everything like that. But so what's the goal though? What's like what? I mean, do you have a vision for? Is it just continue to build and grow and have a clientele and have what's the vision that you're working towards?
Yeah. So the downside of stretching is I can only work on one person at a time.
Yep.
Right. So would love to get bigger and potentially share my knowledge with other therapists and have them work for me, and we all have I can cover a lot more ground with more people.
Yep.
I've also considered doing classes and courses on how to stretch and how to maintain your body and stuff, so I can do stuff like that as well. I'm working in a corporate office currently because these people who aren't even athletes, right? Or it might be weekend warriors that work out regularly, but they have physically laborious jobs that a lot of them are probably too proud to go do it themselves. But if the company's paying for it, that's a different story. So
you come to them too.
Correct. So I've gone to a bunch of different businesses and I've worked on a lot of their employees, and that works out pretty well for me.
Cool.
Would love to dive more into that. I have so many different directions that I can go. Just trying to hone in on what's right for me and what's right for the business.
Great. Sweet.
Yeah.
All right. We've got a pretty fun question here.
Okay.
So, being a Metro State Hall of Famer, I want you to look back at all the wonderful players that have played at Metro State, and I want you to pick your top 5 Metro State players of all time.
Top 5? That's hard.
There's a lot.
There's a lot.
And don't be afraid to pick yourself if you want, but it's...
I would not consider myself in the top 5 there, I don't think.
You're in the record books. I said that at the beginning.
I'm in the record books a couple times. Yes. Like I said, both my brothers played, so I've actually seen a lot of these guys play.
Yeah.
So if you look through the record books, there's a bunch of guys who played in the late 80s, early 90s that were phenomenal, and just by stats alone probably are in the conversation. But because I have no idea how they played or what they did, I'm probably going to leave them out.
It's an era thing.
Yeah. My number one would probably be, or first, I don't know if I can rank them 1 to 5. DeMarco Sanzuris always comes to mind. He's the all-time leading scorer. You watch him in the national championship game, he was pulling up in the fast break behind the three-point line well before Steph Curry ever did it.
Yeah.
And made it look natural. Brandon Jefferson was my teammate. Very similar. He's I think number 2 in scoring.
Yeah.
He's still playing professionally overseas, still representing for us. He was unbelievable even as a freshman, sophomore when he came in. Mark Worthington, he was the first National Player of the Year that Metro had. He was also my brother's roommate, and I was very close with him. Loved watching him play. He was 6'8", could do it all, could shoot, rebound, play big. Mitch McCarron, again, all over the record books. But the thing you have to realize, he only played 3 years.
Wow.
He did all that with just 3
I didn't
years.
know that.
So, quick story with him. He played in an unsanctioned league down in Australia,
Yeah.
but he was told that he would be fine, or
Yeah.
he was trying to make some national team, which he did. He was like the U19 national team at the time. And because of that, he lost a year of eligibility and he had to sit out. So he's also probably one of the all-time best practice players because he couldn't play that year.
Yeah.
He would do stuff that would just make you drop your jaw. And like, I don't know how he did that. He was also really fun to play with. And then
one more.
Oh, Pat Mutombo was really, really good. He won national championship and was also All-American, phenomenal player. I already got 3 of the national players of the year.
Yeah.
I
love it.
Yeah.
So is Pat Mutombo still with the Nuggets? Is he still involved with the Nuggets?
No, he started at the Nuggets and he went to the Raptors, and I don't know where he's at now.
Yeah.
But yeah,
cool. All right.
He's still in the NBA somewhere.
I love it. All right, so got 2 more things to talk about.
Sure.
One of the last things, but certainly not the least, is you have become recently engaged.
Yes.
And are getting married early next year.
Yep.
So tell us about Kristen, the fiance, and what she's meant to you.
So I'm a big believer in like manifestation and bringing the things that you want.
Yeah, speaking
things into existence. So I didn't date for years before her. Like I had gone on dates, but never dated anybody seriously. And I was always looking for whatever it was with this person, right? They had to relate to sports because it's such a huge part of my life. They, probably an athlete themselves, probably a good athlete at that.
Yeah.
They had to let me be me. Like I'm a fairly goofy guy.
Yep.
Love joking around, love doing all sorts of voices and stuff like that from movies. And last August, I'm playing in a golf tournament, and I pull up to a par 3, and it's a charity golf tournament. And I look at this girl sitting in this tent, and I'm like, whoa, who's that? And that's when I met Kristen. And so she is a professional golfer. She played Division I golf at UNLV and Indiana. And back when she was like 16 years old, she played in the Junior Ryder Cup with all sorts of guys on the tour that you would recognize. And I remember when we were discussing this stuff on our first date, and I was like, oh, I'm not the better athlete here.
No.
And I was like, I am nowhere close to being the better athlete.
The second best athlete in this relationship.
So that was intriguing in and of itself. But as soon as I met her, I was like, okay, one of 2 things is going to happen. This is going to be fantastic, or this is going to really suck.
Yep. Yeah. But I'm going after this.
I'm going after it, and it ended up being great. And she's just been a light in my life that she's brought me and like helped me mature as an adult almost, right?
Yep.
It was like no coincidence my business got better as soon as she hopped into my life. It was no coincidence that a lot of things in my life got better as soon as she was around regularly.
Sure.
So when my life gets that much better, I think the next step is like, I should probably lock this down as soon as possible.
Yep. Let's figure out.
So we got engaged back in May, and we're getting married in February 1st.
Well, congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
Good. Yeah, I've loved her ever the first moment I met her and knew she was good for you. And there was some level where it's just like, just don't screw it up, Jamie. Which you haven't done that.
I haven't done that yet.
Congratulations.
So thank you. It's probably my biggest accomplishment there.
Unfortunately, it gets to a point with guys that that's the only thing that you're thinking, like, just don't screw this up.
Yep.
Like, I have a good thing here. Just don't screw it up.
Exactly. Exactly right.
Well, good. Well, the question that we end every interview with can sometimes be the toughest, but You got to pick one thing, but what's your favorite thing about basketball?
I love the competitiveness, and that's what I think I miss the most because I haven't played in a while.
Yeah.
Is just being competitive and just stacking my talents up against somebody else's, or my team's talents up against yours, right? What I miss the most from playing back in college is the camaraderie, though.
Oh yeah.
And being on, like I was on very successful teams. Winning, I mean, I really miss winning, but winning championships and cutting down nets and celebrating with your teammates after the fact, there's something about it. Like, I remember every single championship net that I cut down, and I remember, for the most part, what we did afterwards, right?
Yeah.
But it wasn't even just all that. It was like the stories about the locker rooms, the times we did stuff we weren't supposed to. And it's like the camaraderie and the brotherhood that you have being on that team. I probably miss the most about being on, like, playing college or playing high school.
Yeah.
But just individually, I think I miss competing the most.
Yeah, it's tough. Yeah, it's very interesting because when you're an athlete on any level, like competing is why you do it.
Right.
Like you want to compete. So that's the thing that you have to figure out ways. But there's ways you can bring competition into your life.
Sure.
It's very, very, very difficult to bring a locker room camaraderie into your life.
Yep.
Like, you can stay connected to all your teammates. You can play in men's leagues and things like that. But just that, where you're spending that amount of time with those people in a confined little family,
and you're going through, you're in the trenches together. Like, you go through preseason conditioning together. You guys get in trouble together. You guys do the punishment together.
You win and
you go
lose
do
together.
It again.
You win and lose together. All that stuff. It's tough to commit.
You fight with them. You laugh with them. It's nothing, like, you can't replicate it.
Yeah.
At least that I have found.
For sure. Well, good. Well, JMO, for last, I just want to say thank you for being a great friend and being a supporter of mine. And I wish the best for not only Moebility Wellness, but also you and Kristen. And
thank you.
I'm excited to attend the wedding, and it's going to be a fun day for sure. But
awesome.
Appreciate the time, man.
Thank you. Appreciate you, brother.
When I pull up with my dogs, we gon' ball like Swish. No, I ball like. No, I ball like.